Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Let's chat. Let's chat today, shall we? The reason I want to do this video today is because of a comment that I get every single time I do any sort of art studio tour or organization video or anything like that, and I bet you know what I am gonna say. And I'm just gonna read a comment, and this isn't even this. I just opened my phone and this comment was there. I didn't even have to look for it. Frugal, lol. Having that many pencils alone is a bit questionable. I'm not gonna say the person's name and throw them under the bus or anything. And I mean, I got a few comments like that after I did the detailed tour of the room of hoard. And I mean, I will joke about it myself. I'll joke about myself. I will joke about my what I do for a living. I make YouTube videos. I do product reviews. I have a lot of stuff. I'm putting it out there. That is true. I also, from day one, have called myself the Frugal Crafter. And let me tell you where that name came from. That name came from the fact that I wanted to write a book on how to make your own art supplies for artists, crafters, and teachers. So if they were seeing some technique they wanted to do, maybe they wanted to print, they were doing some printmaking, and they wanted some cheap printing plates like styrofoam, gelatin, all these different things that you could use for that, rubber. If you were gonna make ink pad refills or dyes or watercolors or all these different things. I had accumulated so many recipes over the years of teaching, especially teaching mixed media to kids, that I wanted to do a recipe book that was gonna have all of that in it. And I was gonna call that book The Frugal Crafter. And I pitched that idea, and the idea got rejected, and I thought, well, why don't I just write a blog and put those recipe ideas there? It'll get my name out there. Maybe someday some publisher will want to give my idea a try. So I'm like, well, if I'm gonna, why keep sending it out and getting rejected? I'll just publish it myself, and then people can enjoy it wherever they are in the world. And that's how my blog happened, and that's where I started online, other than just like, you know, posting in forums and whatnot. And then it was probably like maybe 6 months later, I decided that I wanted to add video lessons to my blog posts, because for me, talking is easier than writing. And my blog didn't have a video package. I would have to pay more for a video package. So I started to look at places I could host my videos for free. And I saw YouTube. I didn't even watch YouTube at the time. This was back in 2010. I started a YouTube account and I made videos, uploaded them there, and embedded them in my blog. I didn't even know about YouTube, at the YouTube community or ecosystem or anything. I didn't even go to YouTube to watch my videos. I would embed them in my blog, and that was that. And then I started noticing that there were comments being posted on those videos, and the YouTube was a thing in and of itself. And then I started spending a little more time on that, and yeah, and it kind of grew together. And part of the thing that that helped grow my YouTube channel was reviewing products. And I would purchase stuff at the craft store. I purchased things at art supply stores. I had a bunch of art supplies from all those years of teaching, and I would review those. And I generally invested in good quality stuff. So some of the colored pencil sets I bought back in the 90s, you know, when I was teaching in my studio downtown in Bangor. And I'm not going to throw them away if they're still working and they're still, you know, I'm still using them from time to time. And plus, I can compare them against newer things and see what was better, especially if I get a newer version and an older version. If they're things that I like and I use, I'm going to keep them. And over the years, over the decades, you do accumulate a lot of stuff. And this stuff wasn't all purchased this year. You know, this is stuff that has been accumulating for decades. And I teach workshops. When I go to a stamp show to teach a workshop, I have to bring all the supplies I'm teaching with. If I was teaching a group class where the same students were coming back every week, like I did downtown in my studio, people would bring their own supplies. But if you're doing workshops, if you're doing like classes at the library, things like that, you've got to bring all your own stuff. So that does require you to have that stuff on hand. Also, when I'm done reviewing a product, I don't generally get rid of it unless I know I don't recommend it and I'm never going to use it again. I hang on to it if I like it, because as new products come in, there's so much white labeling going on now. I want to be able to compare, say, the Ohuhu markers to the Sanjoki markers to another. You know, if a new marker comes in, I'm going to see if does it use the same same body as this marker? Does it use the same nibs as that marker? Does it use the same ink as that marker? Are the color numbers the same as any of the other markers that we have? That's useful because if you bought one of these sets of markers and you want to find an ink refill, if you've got a marker that runs on the Shinhan color system, like a lot of the budget markers do, can you get a refill for that? Well, actually, Art and Fly's markers also run on that, and they sell refill inks, so you can buy the refill inks from them and use it on those markers. That's where cross-referencing won't happen without that variety of supplies to draw from. Also, reviewing color pencils. There are so many out there, and price isn't always an indicator of what the quality is going to be. Sure, from like legacy brands, you know, if you buy something from Caran d'Ache, Derwent, let's see, what's another really good pencil company? That's Caran d'Ache and Derwent are probably my two favorite. Prismacolor. You know what you're going to get. You're going to get something good. But if you're buying pencils from Arteza or Art and Fly or Castle Arts or one of the brands that are more new to the scene and doing some white labeling, allegedly, you might not know what you're going to get. And are those pencils, they'll look awfully familiar from, you know, brand X, as good as the ones that are 3 times the price from brand Y? Sometimes they are. And so as long as the pencils are decent quality, and I would use them again, and I would use them in classes, I'll keep them. If there's something I don't think I'll use again, and I don't think that brand's going to stick around, or the brand has gone out of business, or a product is no longer available to purchase, sometimes if I'm not going to use them, I'm not going to use them in a class, and I often will pass them along and let them go where they're going to be used. But if I'm going to refer back to them as part of a future review, then I'm going to hang on to them. So yeah, I have a lot of stuff. I'm not denying that. Obviously, I wouldn't have done a art studio tour if I was trying to hide any of that. A few years ago, I went through the KonMari process and I got rid of about half of my stuff. And so I'm sure a lot of people are looking, it's like, oh, I guess that didn't last, lady, you know. And I will say that the pandemic has made me hold on to things a lot more than I did before the pandemic. Before the pandemic, I thought, well, I can let that go because I can always rebuy it if I need to, or I can always get another one. But I've seen so many companies go out of business. I've seen so many products not be available anymore, things that I've really enjoyed using. And it made me a little bit gun shy, and it made me want to hang on to stuff. And I'm not going to say hoard because everything is well taken care of. If my best friend was like, oh, I want to get into markers, can you recommend something? I would give her a set because I have plenty, and seeing it get used is wonderful. And I can always borrow it back if I needed to test something out for a review, you know what I mean? So I'm not just hanging on to it to hang on to it. I'm hanging on to them because I am a little bit worried about things maybe becoming unavailable in the future, but mostly because I want to be able to cross-reference it. And when a new product comes in, especially the more budget supplies, because I do tend to review more of those because there's tons of reviews for the big name brand legacy products out there. They don't tend to change year over year. If you bought, Prismacolor pencils, even Prismacolor, which probably has the most fluctuation out of any legacy brand, they have fluctuated in quality over the last couple decades, but other than that, there's not going to be big changes. There may be a pigment that goes unavailable, and so like a green from 1992 might be different from that same green in 2012, but it's pretty minimal. Like I compared Rexall Derwent watercolor pencils from the mid-90s to the most recent Derwent pencils, and a couple, there were 3 colors that weren't exact matches from the mid-90s ones, but quality-wise, everything else, was the same. But these budget brands where I think a lot of people are tempted to spend their money because they can be like a third of the price, and some of them hold up very well. That's kind of where I lean in. That's kind of the reviews that I go all in on, because I feel like there's not very much information out there on those brands, and I feel a lot of the information that's out there is I don't want to say it's suspect, but I'm saying that a lot of times it's being reviewed by people that haven't tried as many brands and don't have the comparison, or maybe they're going at their reviews from an adult coloring enthusiast, or and I'm going in more of someone who does draw and also does stamping, and there's a couple different, just a different nuance to my reviews, and I think because you can easily buy, you know, 3 or 4 budget sets and not be happy with any of them and end up buying, you could have spent that money on one of the higher end sets. I don't know, I want to help people get what's right for them and avoid stuff that's not going to be right for them. I do review the upper end ones. I do use them in tutorials. But there is also a lot of information on those brands as well. So so for me, it's just helpful to have those products on hand to be able to compare. And I think that's frugal. I think spending your money on things that are going to give you long-term results that are going to be useful for you long-term that's more frugal. It's more frugal to spend $100 on something you're going to use up down to nubs than it is to spend $20 on 5 different sets that you weren't quite happy with and you use for a couple weeks, and then you get bored with them and you buy another set and you get bored with them. So if you can make the right purchase to begin with, then I think that's important. Also, the reviews are popular. People want to know this information, so that's why it's a fifth of my business. Like a fifth of my videos are review videos, and that's what people are looking for here. So anyway, for those that are saying you can't call yourself frugal, you have all those supplies. Frugal is not necessarily being cheap. It's and this is also a business. And so I guess if you don't like that, then there's lots of other videos to watch. But I think the people that are criticizing me on those videos are ones that don't watch my regular content. They're just kind of jumping in on the craft room tour, and they're, you know, looking to start trouble. I don't know. When you point the finger, you got 3 pointing back at you. That's all I'm going to say. But anyway, I just felt the need to defend myself. And a few people asked me for a watercolor palette tour. And you can let me know if that's something you're interested in or not. And if and I know it's going to draw the ire of certain viewers, but hey, if there are people that are interested, I might do it. I'm just looking at my shelf of watercolor palettes right now, thinking, oh gosh, that's going to be a long video. But also, I will say that I enjoy art supplies. I enjoy using them and I enjoy owning them. And just like somebody who would collect thimbles or fine china or Wedgwood pottery or whatever, collect things that bring you joy. And what's different from art supplies than like, you know, well, actually, no, you could use china. You could use your fine china. I use my art supplies as well as enjoy collecting them. So, and I guess no matter what you collect, it's nice if you can enjoy using it. Some things you can't enjoy using because, like, if it was pottery, the glaze they used back 200 years ago might have been poisonous or something. But, yeah, I like a collection that I can use. And it's the only thing I collect, art supplies. I don't collect jewelry. I don't collect hats. I don't know what other people collect. I don't collect any other things. So, and you just happen to see it's also part of my, you know, public YouTube channel. So it's just right out there. A lot of people have lots of weird collections. You just don't know about it. So, so yeah. So there. I've just, that's my story and I'm sticking to it. That's all I'm going to say. But, yeah, before you criticize people online, maybe give them the benefit of the doubt. And, yeah, that's good. It's good to give people the benefit of the doubt before you judge and blame and shame and all those negative things, because you point the finger, get 3 pointing back at you. Huh? Wise words for the day, maybe. I don't know. Or maybe it could be a cautionary tale and you could look at my collection of supplies, my hoard, if you will, and be like, oh, I'm not going down that road. I'm going to stay right away. And that's your choice. You got to do what's right for you. I'm doing what's right for me. Yeah, the pandemic has made me kind of hang on to some stuff for a little bit longer. I have stocked up on some things as I've found some deals recently because of availability and prices and inflation and whatnot. But I've been painting my entire life and I don't see myself quitting anytime soon. So hopefully I will use it all up in my lifetime. I imagine I will. If not, you can dumpster dive after I'm dead and gone. You can dumpster dive in the big dumpster in my front yard. Oh, let's hope it doesn't come to that. But anyway, that's all I have. I just wanted to, I thought about putting this little rant as part of my sat chat, but then my last sat chat, I actually managed to fill the time with random quips from the week, and I always do seem to fill the time. But yeah, and I have a thing for watercolor palettes. I have a thing for especially travel watercolor palettes. And you know, something else, The cute little folding palettes, those cute little novelty palettes from that are like white labeled from different companies that were made by the Superior company, they've disappeared except for the like original fan palette. All the other ones have like just poof disappeared. Like they're not selling them anymore, not making them anymore. And I think I have a version of each one, and I'm telling you, that collection makes me ridiculously happy of the cute little novelty watercolor palettes. I don't know why. They make me so, they spark joy. So, you know, and Marie Kondo would say, if it sparks joy, you keep it. And this, it all sparks joy. This all sparks joy. So I have not backslid on the Marie Kondo thing. In fact, I've dug my heels on with this joy sparking hoard that I have right now. Oh, it's madness. It's a madhouse. I don't know. There's no defense. There's no defending myself. But I'm not going to feel ashamed. I'm not going to feel ashamed or embarrassed by what I choose to enjoy. And you shouldn't either. You know, you've got to live your life. Nobody else can live your life for you. So, you know, do what brings you joy. You know, as long as you can afford it, as long as you get space for it, you're not hurting anybody else. What's the harm? What's the harm if you're going to use it? Obviously, you don't want to overconsume to, you know, throw stuff out, put it in the landfill, you know. But art brings me joy. It brings me joy to be able to share my art with other people. It brings me joy to have friends over and paint with them. It brings me joy to teach classes at the library. It brings me joy to share the love of art. And, you know, could I do it with less? Yes, absolutely. But just like somebody that collects thimbles or spoons or commemorative plates, you know, we all have those things that bring us joy. And yeah, you could argue it's a bit consumeristic, but I review all of these products, so at least you can see whether they're going to be for you, and that in the long run I think will help people from purchasing things that aren't right for them. And it can maybe even quelch the want monster in some people if they see stuff that they don't necessarily want after they kind of see it unboxed and used and they see the nitty-gritty of it. I don't know. Maybe I'm just making excuses. Maybe I'm in denial. Maybe it's Maybelline. I don't know. But that's all I have to say on that subject. I don't know if this video is going up before or after the detailed tour of the filming room or not, but anyway, it's out there. I'm sure there'll be some complaints on that video, so it'll just be all encompassing. It'll just be a response to all the complainers out there. I don't know. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy these little rants, then you can give me a thumbs up. Thanks for watching, and until next time, happy crafting. Don't be ashamed or embarrassed of what you choose to enjoy, okay? Sounds good.